Are you gonna explain it a little bit? Are you gonna explain it? Okay.
He's 1 and 7.
What?
1 and 7.
Okay. Okay.
He's here for that one.
Okay. Perfect. I'm sorry, Howie.
Yeah, we're going to take 7 out of it. All right.
Fantastic.
All right. We got one.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to call to order the December 15th meeting of the Public Safety Committee. To my far left is Councilor Howard Graney. To my immediate left is Councilor Jimmy Leahy. To my right is Councilor Mike Sullivan, and myself, the Chair, Dan Bresnahan. Also in the crowd we have Councilor Diosdado Lopez, as well as Councilor David Bartley, as well as a DPW superintendent. I take a motion to take number 1 out of order. Item 1 is an order filed by Councilor Bartley that reads that the City Council invite the new PW superintendent to a future meeting of the Public Safety Committee. Mike, you want to just come on up, turn the mic on? Great. Mike, thanks for coming down. I'm sure there's maybe some councilors have some specific questions, but this is just based, like we spoke on the phone, this is basically just kind of a meet and greet. Say hello, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll open up the floor to any questions.
Okay,
The floor is yours.
I've been here for almost 3 months now. Been a resident in Holyoke since 1988. With an engineering background, I worked in consulting for a number of years, doing mostly municipal water and wastewater projects, but other types of planning with parks and other municipal types of projects. Met with a number of the councilors, and I'm enjoying it so far. I don't know if you have any specific questions or anything.
How are we fixed budget-wise, Mike, for the snow removal this winter?
We're just getting into snow removal. I was told by Bill that things will be tight. I am keeping track of the hours that we spend, both with our guys and the subcontractors that we have come in to help, and also keeping track of the salt that we use for each storm. So I think it's a little too early to tell.
Yeah, and there's movement of the sand pile. I believe now it's in a different location. Maybe the residents would like to know that too.
Okay, you know, it's off of Jed's Day Landing, and I'm not sure if it's on our website. We'll put it out there, and when people call, we do tell them where it is.
Okay, thank you.
Salt and sand mixed, Mike, or is that just science?
It's just sand.
Just sand.
Straight sand.
Diosdado.
Mike, I read in the minutes that there's a potential company moving to Springdale, full waste or waste, whatever that is. Can you tell me a little bit more about that applicant?
Oh, yes. So that's Quantum Biopower. It's an outfit, and what they do is they have an anaerobic digestion process where they could take food waste, convert it into a soup. They cook it in a pot for, I think the first stage is a week or so, and then they move it into another pot, and they cook it for another 30 days. And at the end of the process, what happens is the food turns into natural gas, heat, water, and there is a sludge that's left over, but the sludge is it's compost, where you can land apply the compost. This company has built a facility down in Southington, Connecticut, which has just gone live. They're proposing to construct a facility in downtown on the wastewater treatment plant site, because with this process they can also take a side stream of sludge from the wastewater treatment plant. The sludge acts as food for this anaerobic digestion process as well. And it's a way for the treatment plant to get rid of all of their sludge. So now what happens is through the wastewater treatment process, there's sludge that gets built up that needs to be sent off-site. I think it currently goes to Waterbury, Connecticut, at a facility there. But the regulations governing sludge disposal are getting tighter and tighter, and it's going to have to travel farther and farther in the coming years, which will increase the cost associated with that. So by sending it right next door, it would be a cost that the city wouldn't have to pay for. There will be some jobs that come in associated with this facility, and then there will also be a product that they'll have that they can sell. So they'll be taking food waste in from the surrounding community. They look for large kitchens, let's say. So it would be like a college or the hospital or even food processing places that have a waste stream. And so it wouldn't be necessarily open to household collections. They would have their own tipping floor. They'd be looking for bulk food waste coming in. And it also lines up with the food waste ban that the state of Massachusetts has. So that's a regulation that the state has put out there that people need to separate their food waste from their regular trash. And larger institutions would like to comply with that. And even places like Stop and Shop, they have produce and butchers, and if they can't sell it by a certain date, they have to dispose of it. So this would be a place where they could get rid of that food waste.
Just two questions. This is a big operation traffic-wise, and the food will be disposed right away. It will not stay there for 90 days or anything like that, that it will smell bad or anything?
No, okay.
There will be some traffic coming in. I don't think it'll be on the same order as the transfer station across the street. But when the food comes in, they have a tipping floor. All of the food will go into a pit where it gets ground up and sent into that first batch. They have negative air pressure, so no odors will be escaping the facility per plan.
So maybe, just a suggestion to you, maybe it would be a good idea to see if we can get a video from the other plant down in Connecticut and make sure that we have a meeting with the neighbor, because I already started getting phone call. So okay. I just want I don't think it's going to be bad, but I mean, just to make sure that you don't run into a lot of issues with the neighborhood there.
Right, and then the natural gas that they generate can be used for power.
It sounds good.
They expect to be able to power 800 to 1,000 homes from the gas that's generated, and that would go back to gas and electric. So there's a lot of synergies with this project, and I know the person driving the project on Quantum Biopower, he's reached out to the city. We've had meetings. We've also had meetings with DEP to look at the permitting process. And he's also reaching out to some of the other city councilors to try to set up a meeting so that we get consensus and buy-in.
And I'm pretty sure we're not giving the land. I mean, I'm pretty sure that we're getting some money out of this, right?
Correct. So okay. The city plans, the city has to maintain ownership of the land. We would be leasing. The lease, and no financial deals have been constructed yet or even talked about. They're still working on the pro forma, how much they can generate and all of that stuff. This is preliminary. It's in the works.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, sounds good so far. Thank you.
Not to jump around in projects, but there's something that we've always kind of kicked around, is that the recycling stream that comes into the city of Holyoke, the money that's generated from that, I believe it just goes back to the general coffers.
It does. Of
the city. I mean, I get a lot of questions about those wheeled totes that people have. I mean, years ago, 10 11, 12 years ago, there was a grant. There was hundreds of them they had, and they were kind of giving them away for free at one point.
Right.
But I mean, just something to kick around. I mean, that's probably somewhere, when I was talking to Tim Price, somewhere in the range of like $70,000 or so that is generated from that recycling project. I mean, would it be anything to have that money go back to you for future environmental issues?
So my understanding is originally the recycling was set up as a revolving fund, but that was stopped, and now the money that comes in from recycling goes into the general fund. The recycling money that the city gets is commodity price driven. So when plastics are expensive, when oil is high, we get more money back. When oil is low, we don't get as much money back. In the last few years, it's been in the $9,000 to $20,000 range in what we get back from the recycling program. There has been talk about reinstituting that revolving fund so that when the money comes back in, we can use that to buy those wheeled containers. There is a demand for it out there, but we don't have the budget in DPW to go out and buy enough containers. But if the revolving fund was there, you know, over a couple of years, we would be able to buy those containers.
So you're not adverse to that if someone was to file an order suggesting that it goes back to a revolving fund, so go back into the DPW?
You'd be DPW's hero.
Okay.
Whoever files that.
Just on that, we already filed an order and we already passed it, Dan.
Okay.
For that over a year ago. That and went to the mayor. So so we're already heroes, I guess. So and I think you co-sponsored it, Soto, myself, Alexander. So that was a unanimous passage.
Okay.
So rededicate those funds that were generated from recycling revenue back to purchasing more bulk containers and increasing our recycling program. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dan, but
No, that's can you maybe?
Yeah, I'll look into that. And there was also talking with the finance committee last time. One of the items on that large bond was some. I don't know if it was $50,000 or so to buy recycling containers. But the thought was, if that revolving fund was in place, if we could get it in place, then we wouldn't need to include that in a bond.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely see where that order is, and I do recall that. One last thought: the site that we have down at the old bus barns that your office is in. I mean, that's you guys are. That's almost a transfer site, as you're probably aware. I mean, the propane tanks, all the mattresses, the couches. I mean, I know you only been there 3 months, but is the DEP at all knocking on the door? Are they suggesting that place needs to be licensed for the product it's taking in? I mean, how is that? I mean, I know,
Yes,
again,
yes
it's only
and
been
no.
3 months, but.
I mean, my understanding is it's not permitted.
Right.
But DEP approves of the operation that we do have and the way that we segregate and maintain everything. So it would be nice to have it permitted, because then we'd be by the books.
Right.
But in order to permit it as a transfer station, I think we'd be getting into a lot of issues like MIPA, and which could be a big nut to try to crack.
And is any monies that's coming out of like the Sullivan Steel containers, the metal, any of that? I'm assuming that money's going back to your budget.
I believe all the recycling money goes into the general fund.
Okay. All right.
We're not recapturing any of that. So when we scrap aluminum signs from the road signs that get replaced,
Yep.
that goes back into the general fund.
Anybody? Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you. Mike, have you, we had met a week or two ago, just a short period of time. Have you had a chance to follow up on anything to do with any potential savings as far as costs with Suez for flood management and stuff like that?
No, not specifically, but it is on my short-term list of things to do, to look into closing off the flood wall in those two locations, contacting Army Corps.
Okay. Also, on a kind of a different note, is there has there been any consideration or thought given to everything going on with solar now? as far as doing any installations on city properties, particularly like DPW and stuff like that?
And I think that's usually within gas and electrics realm. They're the ones who are putting up all the solar.
Yeah,
But do you mean as
they
far
are.
as-
They're putting solar up all over the place. I'm just
Yeah.
curious as to why there's not a big push for any going up on any municipal buildings. It eating up space and developable properties and stuff like that, but I'm at a loss as to, I look at the DPW building, it's got a huge roof area, a lot of other buildings around town, city-owned properties do. Why we're not pursuing that, I'm not directing this at your problem, I'm just asking if it's been anything you've heard about or approached
No,
on.
I haven't heard any discussion about solar on city-owned buildings.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add to the dialogue that Mike and I met a couple weeks ago as well, and we had about an hour-long plus discussion and talked about Ward 3 stuff and citywide, so very helpful, and I really appreciate it, Mike. Appreciate you coming down, appreciate your input.
Yeah, likewise, we appreciate you taking time out away from your family to come down here on a Thursday night,
A very cold Thursday night.
very cold Thursday night. Anyone else?
Chairman, if, is item number 7
Nope, next.
next? Okay.
Okay, so I take a motion that's been complied with.
Second.
Is that okay with the maker?
Yeah?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Motion to move 7 out of order to the top of the agenda.
Sure. All in favor?
Okay.
all right.
Order is an order filed by Councilor McGivern that this Conservation Commission, the DPW, the city engineer come before the city council to discuss the potential new access road for University Apartments and the wetlands surrounding that potential road. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
So what I passed out was a printout from the property viewer that the city has for the University Apartments, but specifically showing Alma Road on the left-hand side. And then on the second page, this is a printout from Google Maps of Alma Road at the intersection of Alma and Bassett, looking towards the continuation of the paper street. So if we go back to the first page, does everybody see Alma Road?
Yeah.
And I believe what the question is would University Apartments, because they own the parcel that is connected to the end of the paper street, which is Alma Road. So Alma Road comes and it turns down to Bassett. There is a paper street that extends for another 100 feet to the property that the University Park Trust owns. Alma Road has been accepted by the city from Jarvis to Bassett. And then there was a plan back in 1987 to accept Alma Road for an additional 106 feet in an easterly direction, provided that the abutters made the street in accordance with City of Holyoke requirements. But that never happened. Instead, what happened was the driveway was constructed for property for lot number 34 on the map, and that driveway connects to the intersection of Alma and Bassett Road. So in order for the city to accept that as a street, it would need to be brought up to the city standards for roadways. And then as far as extending an access road from Alma into University Park Apartments, there's a number of steps that would need to happen before the city could consider that. The proposer, University Park Apartments, they would have to flag the wetlands. If you look at the map right in the middle, that big green blob is state-listed wetlands. So they would need to go and field verify the extent of the wetlands. They would have to do a survey of the area. They would have to come up with a plan for how this road would be constructed and then submit it to the city for review and approval. And it would have to go through all the departments in the city that would have jurisdiction.
I mean, what would their intentions be? I mean, why do they want to? I know it was in '87. I'm assuming you haven't had any conversations with them, but I mean, what's the purpose of it?
So in '87, I believe it was for the homeowner. I'm not sure. Mr. McGivern might know a little bit more about it back then, because the letter that we came across in our files was addressed to you, Joe, if you're familiar. So was that road for the current abutting properties?
My understanding is yes. The 106 feet you're talking about, Mike, was to give the lot number 34, the house on lot number 34, a curb cut access for a driveway off of Bassett Alma. And I think it was Dave Runda was the engineer at the time, and he was uncomfortable doing it unless the Paper City, that portion of the Paper Street became accepted. And the first I've heard that, I think even the homeowner thinks it's accepted in front of his house at this time, but I didn't realize that never went through. What prompted this order was more recent contact, and this goes back a while now, but more recent in the last year or so, with University Apartments, the manager speaking to two homeowners that University Apartments was going forward with another egress from their upper parking lot and connecting it to Alma. Now, I haven't had contact with University Apartments, but the two issues that brought to mind was the two homeowners don't know how the road would fit through there without taking property from each of them, and more important for the entire neighborhood, and I think Councilor Jordain's on top of this one, we'd be opening up a cut-through, which already exists if we are familiar with Old Jarvis and the back cut-through off of 141. People that, wanted to avoid or got stuck at the lights, at the 91 egress could cut through University Apartments now and come back out on Jarvis. Maybe a little far-fetched, but certainly something that could happen. And so we filed an order because at the time we were told that the permitting process had started, but apparently it hasn't. We also at that time found out not only were there wetlands, but University Apartments was nicely cited for dumping in the wetlands and doing some illegal not landscaping, but I think that's what they were dumping was landscaping, but there might have been some concrete too. And so they were ordered to clean that up. I don't know if that's taken place yet. But I guess the answer to your question is, that's the history, but what's the future? And is there a way to stop, the possibility of Alma Road becoming a cut through?
So I would think we would need to look at where the wetlands are, what the buffer is. Can you even construct a road through this area? What's the topography? I think it generally slopes down. So certainly we couldn't fill in the wetlands. I don't know if we can fill in the buffer. I think constructability, it could be difficult to even do this. But without seeing a plan from them, I don't think we can just right off the bat say no.
Mike, do you know if they have or ever filed an initial plan and have permission to do it, but just never did it?
I'm not aware of any.
Because if it remains a paper street, it would require a vote of this council, a vote of the DPW, and as you said, a number of hurdles that they'd have to cross in terms of the wetlands and permitting and even if it makes sense. It doesn't sound like it makes sense, but I'm not too sure why the homeowners were approached. I think the order's not been complied with, Mr. Chairman, but I think Mr. McManus has provided us with the facts that we need, and I would ask that a copy or a request be sent to the law department on how to delete a paper street.
Well, we had talked about this at the was at the government meeting recently about the paper street off of Mueller Road, and you know, there is a process for deleting a paper street and declaring it surplus. You need a survey. You need the definition of the boundaries, but that is a possibility. To what could happen though is you would essentially remove all of the frontage for property 34.
That was the issue with Mr. Rundle, and but if it never happened, there is no frontage for 34. I mean, that's kind of a double-edged sword there.
He has frontage on the paper street.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, is that, so the Alma Street is the street that goes 22, Plat 32, Plat 33, and Plat 34?
Correct.
Is that
yeah.
correct? So this yellow boundary line is property of the University Park?
Correct. But if you can see the property line for Alma Street,
Yes.
and you see how there's the portion to the east of Bassett in between 34 and 35.
Yeah.
So on the back side of 34 and 35, there's another property line that runs southerly, and it also runs past 36, which is on Bassett. Generally, where that wetland is, that parcel is also owned by University Park Trust.
So the back side of 34, 35, and 36 is
owned by the apartments.
Right, okay.
It's part of the old golf course that the Broadview serviced.
Well, that looks like the wetlands. I thought that was the old golf course, but
Why don't we move to table it?
sure. Joe, is that?
If you don't mind, I'll contact the law department. I'll work with Mike on. It's a catch-22 for the homeowners, which maybe see what they want to do in terms of if they feel secure the way it is now, or if they want to take the next step to perhaps owning the property or making it, you know, at least part of it, that 106 feet, you know, a part of Alma. But
And you would think that if the University Apartments really wanted this, they probably would have pushed for it a lot sooner, right?
I would think so. I was kind of surprised when.
And how long have the apartments been there?
Oof.
Eons.
Okay.
I'd say the late 60s, maybe, when the golf course was turned over.
I don't know. They weren't there when the Broadview was there. They weren't there when O'Mara put the deck outside. They were built after the deck.
70.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, the motion on the table is to, or the motion on the floor is to table the order. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Mike, I believe we're good.
Have a good night, sir.
Thanks for coming down, Mike. Appreciate it.
Joe, what's the name of that golf course, do you know?
I don't.
It was Joe Maggie's golf course.
Called
Montauk.
Montauk Golf Club?
Joe Maggie was the owner.
Yep.
Harry Biagatti was the pro.
Take a motion to take number 3 off the table.
Second.
Number 2, I'm sorry.
2, go ahead.
Motion filed by myself, request that a representative from the Fire, Health, and Building Planning come before the Public Safety to discuss bed and breakfasts that are currently in operation. Seeing the process that Jay's Bed and Breakfast just recently completed to be in compliance with any city or state laws, we need to ensure that other bed and breakfasts that are currently advertising and are in operation with the city have all licenses and are properly zoned and in fact legitimate. This order's actually been forwarded to the Ordinance Committee, which we met on Tuesday night of this week. So I'm fine with, with giving this leave to withdraw and letting the Ordinance Committee run with the ball, as well as the Law Department, to draft up some sort of compliance for bed and breakfasts and air bed and breakfasts within the city. But it's open for discussion if anybody wants to.
I make a motion to give it leave of withdrawal.
Second.
All in favor?
All right. Take number 3 off the table.
Second.
Number 3 is an order filed by Councilor Roman. Order that the City of Holyoke centralize and consolidate within the fire department all lists of empty and abandoned buildings, providing access to its server. Actually, I'd like to take item 3 and 4 off the table because they're both going to be going to the same place.
So moved. Second.
Providing access to its server to any and all departments who need it. Item 4, also filed by Councilor Roman, order that the City of Holyoke Fire Department take over as emergency medical dispatch for the city. I'd ask that both of these be tabled.
I make a motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Take number 5 off the table.
Second.
Order that the police department, this is filed by Councilor Roman as well, order that the police department provide the council and the public information on statistics on a string of violence and crimes occurring in the Churchill neighborhood. Contact Councilor Roman for specific seats. Residents and neighbors have grave concerns regarding their safety. I reached out to the chief, who asked that he was going to be out of town and asked that we table it for the next meeting where he can get the statistics on it. I'd let Councilor Roman know.
So moved.
Go ahead.
Table.
He has the same order on the 22nd at Dean, if you see the agenda for his school city council committee meeting. So I saw that there also, so I don't know how many times we're gonna discuss the same issue.
On the 22nd of this month or last month?
No, this month.
So
I saw the agenda today.
okay, so it's coming out. Okay.
Just read it, just to make sure it's the same order, but I think it is the same.
Well, we can certainly table and give it the leave to withdraw at the next meeting. So the motion is to table this order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Order 6 is filed by Councilor Sullivan. It's ordered that the Board of Fire Commissioners meet with the City Council to discuss the ongoing problems with the traffic signals. I defer to the maker.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion the order's been complied with.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, it's under discussion, please.
All right. Met with Chief Pond. The ongoing problem with the traffic signals. The reason I wanted the fire commissioners to come in and discuss this was to find out why we were still spending, why we couldn't redirect monies from maintaining the pull stations around town towards helping alleviate this problem. Met with Chief Pond, and there really aren't any monies there to direct towards this problem. As the pull stations fail and go out of service, they're just not maintained anymore and taken out of service. There's no money being spent maintaining these systems. So I'm happy. There's no funds to be gained. The only thing I'm disappointed in is that once again another commission has been asked to appear before the City Council, and no one has showed up, and we were left to meet independently with the chief to resolve the issue.
A quick question. I know. I think you and I had filed an order. Does that box in front of our houses, does that work?
Don't know, but if it doesn't, they can take it out, but there's no money being spent maintaining it.
The only reason I ask is because some elderly people walking, like Herb and whatnot,
Yep.
God forbid something happened, if they used it, they'd be relying on that. They don't have cell phones.
That's possible. There's some we don't know until we find out if they're not working.
All right,
Yep.
well, good order. I mean, motion's been complied with?
Just a quick question. So we don't know which ones are online and which ones are not online.
They do know some are online. They do know, but.
Well, I mean, I don't know if cell phones, you know, if they use it, they'd be relying on that.
It, that's possible. There's some we don't know until we find out if they're not working. All right. Yep. They do know some are online. They do know, but to some extent, if something has failed, you really don't know until you pull it either.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe has a question?
Yep. Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I read the order as, this is about traffic signals or the pole boxes?
The reason I wanted to bring the commission was to see if there were there was a lot of, at the time of this order, there was a lot of lights flashing around town. The reason I was given why they were flashing is there wasn't money to maintain them. And I wanted to find out if we could find the money from those sources somewhere else.
I thought it was an excellent order. I could not vote to say this is complied with because we still got a lot of problems. I have questions for the chief and the fire commissioners, and I won't vote that it's complied with, but.
Yeah, good idea. Table.
I just on that, there was I had an order with the chief, and he emailed Ryan requesting that they be given leave to withdraw, and I responded to the chief, just me and him, and said, you know, you really should contact the makers of the order if you want to give it leave to withdraw, but I would prefer if you kind of came down, and I sent that email. I did CC you on that email. It said, you know, there's 3 orders on the table that you could talk about: the buildings, the EMD service, and the traffic lights. And you know, it is
all good topics.
I think there's a few more good new orders we could file to get the commission in to start answering some questions.
Councilor Bresnan?
Go ahead,
There's also an order out there that I filed, I believe you were one of the co-sponsors, about the fire escapes and the evacuation plan for the school department offices at 57 Suffolk Street.
Yep.
We haven't heard a response from that yet. That's been filed for at least 4, maybe 6 months. So I'd like to make sure that's on the next agenda.
Will be.
Thank you.
If I may,
Councilor DeStata, please.
We, the finance committee, we took the issues of the traffic lights, and if I'm not mistaken, 1 or 2 of the commissioners came with a few firefighters and the DPW, and we went over the numbers. But I mean, I don't recall. I know that they want to do, if I'm not mistaken, 10 different intersections throughout the city. So call Councilor McGee if you have any other specific question about that. But I know that we discussed that issue, and they're waiting for the money to take care of the traffic lights.
Yeah, that was, I think it was $1 million, wasn't it, for 10 traffic lights?
I think it's more than that.
I think it was a little more than that.
Yeah, more. I think it's, yeah.
Well, the fire department, they identified those 10 intersections, 10 traffic lights at $100,000 a piece, so it was $1 million plus whatever it was, and that was also maybe 8 months ago. But I think we requested that they solicit the mayor for the money. So I don't know if they ever petitioned the mayor or not. I don't know.
It is in the.
I think it's important that we have.
It's in the bond? Okay.
It is. I think it's $3 million. I think that.
It's 3? Okay.
I think it's important that we have these public discussions with the people in front of us. Right. You know, if it's something you can administratively take care of, that's fine, but this is something we're all interested in for different reasons. And we have an order in the Finance Committee coming Monday about $2 million for a TV radio station. And we've got probably $1 million worth of work of traffic and streets and sidewalks out there, and why are we bonding for a TV radio station? You know, and I think we need to be updated by the chief and by the, you know, whether it's the commissioner or not, but by the people that know what's going on and making the decisions, you know, before we make other decisions. They're all related.
Right, and I'm very interested in that same vein. I'm very interested in the emergency medical dispatch and how it's working. What, you know, it's just, it went out to RFP, and we have another company that's dictating where our fire trucks are going, or our tactile units are going. It's not even us dictating it. We have a company calling us, or maybe not calling us.
And we went through this with the hospital. The hospital has a lot at stake here too. I'm not even sure if they were involved in this negotiation, which would be a big issue, you know, with the hospital and with the way that they use ambulance service and the way they, you know, their ER, they're almost to be brand new ER is being set up. And all of a sudden there's a new, we could be on whole different tracks with the hospital and the more than one ambulance service in the city.
So, what's anyone's thoughts on the order?
I think we should just keep it tabled. Make a motion to table it.
I'm fine with that, too.
So there's a second, all in favor?
All right.
All right?
Well, I'd love to keep you guys out later, but that's all I got on the agenda for tonight.
Humbug.
Motion to adjourn?
You got that right. They already started.
He should take over ordinance. He should take over ordinance, and hopefully he will